You're watching Executive Talks with Christian Grant at executivetalks.com.
Welcome to Executive Talks. We are here at the Ritz-Carlton in Half Moon Bay, and our guest is Sophie Vandebroek, who is the Chief Technology Officer and President of the Xerox Innovation Group. We're going to talk about Xerox's global research. Welcome, Sophie.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. You are the leader of Xerox's global research. Can you talk a little about the research organization?
Yes.
In terms of budget, research centers, labs, researchers, projects, and patents.
Yes. Wow, cool. Xerox is a global company, and the same is true for research. We have research organizations in different parts of the world. In the US, we have two major centers. One is a Palo Alto Research Center, or PARC, just 40 minutes from here. The other center is in Rochester, New York, it's in upstate New York. We also have a research center in Canada, a research presence in Grenoble, France, as well as a very close research collaboration with Fuji Xerox in Japan, who's our joint venture partner. So we have researchers working for Xerox around the world who closely collaborate with partners at universities, in other companies, to truly constantly look into the future and understand what do our customers really need 3, 5, 10 years from now. So from a point of view, in addition to researchers, Xerox also has engineering divisions around the world. And we invest with our joint venture partner, Fuji Xerox. We invest about $1.5 billion on an annual basis. In the history of the company, that has led to 54,000 patents in the history of our company. We get issued about 10 patents to us each and every week, which is really an indication of the creativity of the people around the company. And so I think that basically covers a lot of the questions you asked. I think the mission of our research is in multiple areas, and I could touch on that. The main area that we're going after today is the notion of helping our customers deal with information. Mm-hmm. As you might recall, 500 years ago, Gutenberg invented the printing press. 75 years ago, xerography was invented, which really allowed people for the first time to share information effectively and really democratize the sharing of information and accessibility to content, because it became very affordable for people to actually do that, being able to make a copy of something they had and give it to others. That was 75 years ago. In the meantime, the whole internet exploded, and in fact, many of the core technologies that are at the basis of the internet today were all invented here at PARC, the Palo Alto Research Center.
Exactly. I know the ball mouse was invented at PARC, the graphical user interface, Smalltalk, and Ethernet.
And Ethernet, yes. Bob Metcalfe did that a long time ago. We also had the early concepts demonstrated of laptop computers, word processors, a lot of the infrastructure of the internet was created at PARC. And there was actually a great article back in 1975, I believe, published on the cover of Business Week, saying the paperless office, right? I mean, now that the internet is exploding, there won't be any more paper in the office. And that was based on an interview that the reporter had with George Paik, who was leading the Palo Alto Research Center at the time, and could see into the future that by about 15 years later, everybody would have a laptop on every desktop and can easily access all the information they need. And in fact, what we have seen is that instead of a paperless office, the emergence of the internet has increased the usage of paper by 40%. And this morning, we heard numbers quoted of 50 trillion pages printed around the globe on an annual basis. So really, paper usage is extremely significant. There's a lot of information contained in that. In addition to the information explosion in the digital world, IDC consulting firm measured or quoted about 271 exabytes of information were created, shared, and stored in 2007. That many exabytes, exabyte is 10 to the 18th, is 5 million times more than the total information contained in any books ever written, and that's created in just 1 year, or is the equivalent of about 20 stacks of books between here and the sun. 20 stacks, you stack them up, and that's the amount of information. It's huge. It's
huge amount of information, and that's the problem, right? There's this information overload problem, finding the information you're looking for.
Yeah.
But I know the help is on the way. Xerox is doing a lot of research in that area. Can you talk a little about that?
Yes. So indeed, there is this, many people perceive it as information overload, and in fact it is, unless you manage it effectively, right? Because today, I mean, I can get a lot more information by just entering the internet world, entering the web world, than you could ever be possible 20 years ago or over 20 years ago when I came to study in the United States. I was looking at universities, but there was no web where I could actually go to their web pages and study what's where, etc. Today, all of this is possible, right? So this information explosion, this is just one example. Many businesses have benefited significantly from the information explosion. The problem is it becomes information overload, because none of us, with the limited amount of time we have, can deal with exabytes or zettabytes of information, which is completely impossible. So what we are doing at Xerox is, there are two ways you have to deal with your information. Number one, as an individual, you need to use good judgment of what information are you going to use and what information are you going to ignore. I mean, it's a personal judgment, right? It's like one of our researchers, Venkat Rao, compared it with the overload of food availability in the Western world, right? I mean, in the United States, I grew up in Europe, but in the United States here, we have many of those all-you-can-eat buffet, right? You pay a certain amount of money, not too much, and you can go in and you can eat as much as you want. That is food overload, right?
Yes, so people have to learn to limit themselves. I'm trying to lose weight, so and all you can eat buffet is no. I'm 5 pounds overweight, and this conference, I think I will gain 2 pounds in this.
That's right. Just way too much food, right? So it's a similar with, but you have to use your judgment, right? You have to make sure you get your vitamins and your proteins and your fiber, and let's forget about the sugars and the fat. The same it was the same in the printed world, right? You go to a bookstore, there's so many books. You go look at the magazines and the newspapers. I mean, nobody ever tried to read all of those. You select a few you really like, and hopefully many of your viewers select your show today. And that's number one. That's the personal judgment you have to use. And then to build on what you're saying, in addition, across our research centers around the world, and currently also embedded in the services we provide to our customers, we have developed several software tools or a suite of software technologies that help our customers quickly get what they need, when they need it, and where they need it, right? So that you can get the information you need at a given point in time. I mean, right now, the information you need might be around what Xerox is all about, because you're doing this interview.
Exactly.
But tonight, there might be other information you need, right?
I use Wikipedia.
That's right. You use Wikipedia a lot. Wikipedia is great. But Wikipedia won't necessarily have all the key research projects listed that certain companies are working on. So what we're working on, I can give you many examples depending on what you think.
If you could mention
projects.
A few projects in that area.
Yes. Let me give you a project related to something that's very big in the United States. It's working with lawyers on legal cases, right? Mm-hmm. So if there are lawsuits or legal cases, often that involves thousands or sometimes millions of pages. We call them pages of documents. I mean, many of them are already digital. Many of them are hard copy. And if they're digital, often the law firms will print them and have people read through them and have expert witnesses, and there's boxes and boxes of information that is being read. It makes these whole cases also move very, very slow. And so recently, I mean, a couple of years ago now, we acquired a company called Amiki. Today it's called Xerox Litigation Services.
Okay.
And what the basic software platform they have is a workflow tool that allows lawyers to quickly look at all these pages of information digitally, right? I mean, it's not only the email, but Excel spreadsheets and images and PowerPoint, and it's all available in a simple email way of looking at it. But still, these are, at that point in time, it is dumb digital documents, right? I mean, it is, you can do some basic search, whatever this software can do today. And so, but it is a great workflow platform that we are working with the business team to embed what we call smart document technologies, or technologies that can quickly understand the content of these documents and then help the lawyer much more quickly find the relative information they need. For example, out of the 1 million pages, we could automatically categorize, let's say, the top 10% of those that has most of the valuable information, or find facts contained in the document, right? So when did Christian meet Bill, and where were they? And so the software can give you that information, even though Christian is referred to as a he on certain pages, and then multiple he's contained in these multiple pieces of evidence or documents in this case. That's one, or software that can automatically redact private or confidential information. I mean, as information around somebody's health status or medical status. There are many privacy laws. Today, people do a lot of that manually. I mean, there is software that's being developed at Parc and in Grenoble, France, where we have a research center where a lot of this can be automated. So
I think Google needs some of that software for one of their latest cases where they have to give out some of their information, but they are allowed to mask personal information.
Yes. So yeah, doing that in an automated way that's very accurate and secure is extremely important. And the technologies are really built off the linguistics, machine learning, computer science, core competencies that have existed in Xerox for many years. And so we use these applications in small and medium businesses, lawyers, for example, small and medium business. We use it with larger, another small and medium quote-unquote businesses. For example, we work with many schools or many doctors' offices. How often do you go, in the US at least, to the doctor and you have to fill out the same forms over and over again? At a school, if you want to register your kids in a school, I mean, so much is still manual with paper. If you can replace that and really automate it, so currently
that would definitely save a lot of expenses and make the American healthcare system more cost efficient.
Yes, that's exactly right. So we have worked with hospitals to really digitize all of their patient records and do it in a way both applying the smart document technologies, but also leveraging some of our new multifunction devices, which are both printers and copiers and scanners. And we have embedded some of this software technology to work locally on the device. I mean, it's a web service, but you can download it to the device and you can run it locally. And so when the doctor's office scans in the form, or when a school scans in all the forms, it can recognize what's the content of the form, automatically guide it to the right patient record or student records. And so we have designed these new multifunction devices with open APIs. We have a EIP, it's Enterprise Interface Platform, to allow users, extendable interface platform, to allow users to very easily write applications to run on the multifunction devices that are appropriate to their own business. So there's a lot of research going on in this whole space of helping for you to find the information you need when you need it. And
so these are a few examples, some very exciting research projects that you're working on, and we'll get back to those. How many researchers do you have at Xerox altogether? So
we don't quote the exact number, but the actual research center budget is about 15% of the overall RD&E investments within the companies.
Than $1 billion.
That's RD&E investments, overall R&D investments, 1.5 billion together with our joint venture partner Fuji Xerox.
Do you have some very specific research goals, R&D goals?
So the research goals are aligned across two major areas, but then we have some underlying goals that we support in both of these areas. Let me explain. So the one major area is this whole notion of information explosion and helping the customer find what they need. In addition, the second major research plank is the seamless on and off ramps between the paper world and the digital world. And for example, in our production business, we are, which is really the off ramp between digital world and paper world, we have, for example, the fastest cut sheet color digital production press. And why is this important, or why is it important to keep investing in that? Is today the offset market, the number of pages printed and the total revenue in offset printing, which is like your typical magazines, your newspaper, everything is printed on offset presses, I think is about $600 billion today. It's for $600 billion. It's really huge, and only a small part today, maybe about $20 billion, is digital. Mm-hmm. It's actually printed through digital printing out of these offset type applications like packaging and very big poster printing, newspapers. And the key is we should really, one of the strategies is how can we capture much more of this huge $600 billion pie? How can we digitize so that, for example, all of the marketing campaigns, again, the magazines, newspaper, that instead of printing them with offset presses and printing thousands or millions of the same thing or books over and over again, you only print what you need. Mm-hmm. And not only, and it's personalized to the user, and not only is that great for the individual who receives it, if you can do it in an affordable way, it's very good for the environment. Because today a large percentage of the books that are printed just are never used and go to waste, or a large percentage of the magazines and the newspapers, significant since you've lived in the US for 10 years. On Sundays you buy this huge newspaper, right? Yeah. Most of that goes straight in the recycling bin.
Exactly.
It's completely irrelevant to you or to me. So with digital printing, you can actually personalize and customize what you need and what you are interested in, and eliminate a lot of these pages that are just completely irrelevant to the receiver and are really not good for the environment at all. And so we have a big research agenda to go after digitizing the 600 billion offset worldwide, and how do we really digitize that so it's, of course, good for the customers, good for Xerox business, and especially good for the environment, if you can successfully do that.
And I've seen some examples of that at a Xerox Park Day, where you could print out boxes or patterns for boxes and your own cards, etc.
Yeah, so we have great research program going on personalized packaging. Or actually, I did bring a couple gadgets here.
Okay.
So since you're talking about it, I will show it to you. So for example, and this actually is going to show two things. I hope you can see it. Mm-hmm. One, this could be.
Sophie, I'll just focus. If you hold it a little higher, is that?
But you should see a gloss mark too. Yes. I don't know if you see. Do you see the gloss marks?
Yes.
You see the gloss marks? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's a gloss mark in there, like a little gloss mark. I'll explain.
Oh, you see a watermark.
A watermark. Yes. You see, it's a digital watermark. Mm-hmm. So, for example, this is. In this case, it is for medical applications. You could completely personalize the package to the print immediately on top of it, the patient's name, the expiration date, and all of that stuff. And then, actually, I give you one. You can see the gloss marks.
Thank you.
And then you can, in addition, we have a lot of secure printing technologies to embed within the print secure features. And in this one is a watermark is embedded. But the watermark itself can be digitized. And so when you copy it, won't be there, and it can be digitized. Most watermarks printed in offset today are not digitized. They're the same on everything.
So you can print the watermarks with a special printer?
Yeah, you know, that's the secret. It comes for free because you print it at the same time as you print the package.
Okay.
It's actually a cool invention.
It is.
In dry xerography, which is used for this, there used to be a technical problem called differential gloss, so there will be more glossy, more shiny on certain parts of the print, less shiny on the other one. And so we had two researchers in one of our research labs trying very hard of how can I eliminate this difference in gloss, and they got to the fundamental understanding of how this difference in gloss was created, and then they turned it around and say, now I can manipulate it And within the printing process, depending on how I do my image processing, I can create visually more glass on one area than on the other area. And so we can embed, like your name could be on this package also in the glass mark. So you can really know it is authentic medication for you. But other examples of personalization, for example, personalized calendars, right? I mean, Sophie Street, Vandebroek Avenue, right? So we can, I don't know, you can do a lot of personalized, this is the same one, but personalized
That's beautiful.
printing.
That's
I can
fun.
see if my favorite one is in here. There is one with real nice wine corks, but maybe it's not in there. But you can see the fireworks. So
Beautiful.
And it is beautiful, but I can print very fast, hundreds of pages a minute in color. I can print every page different. My name on one, your name on one.
Will this technology come to your personal printer or more to the business office printers?
So I don't look at it anymore that way. It's all enabled through the web.
Sure.
A person from home, I can go in and there are websites you can go design. Many of our customers, there's the web interface. That's all really what you need. Because at home you don't want to have the system that has to, put the nice binding, but it is affordable for the end user. You go to the web, you design your personalized calendar or whatever it is, photo album, photo book. And the trick, the science and the technology is into designing software algorithms that come up with embedding, in this case, the words into your image and do it in a way that you link it to your Excel database or whatever database with names you have, and you can quickly create these kind of applications. It's automation is important because if you have to do this by hand, it's unaffordable, right?
Yes.
And you have to be able to print it fast. But there are many in Europe, in US, around the world, our customers of our production presses are using this, collaborating with book publishers or just web-based brokers to like MyPhotoFun or Shutterfly or Lulu.com. I mean, they're all web-based businesses that you can go in and create these kind of applications and then personalize it. And it's really the personalization. I no longer buy a default calendars. I mean, every year so many calendars get printed, and coming March you can buy them for 20% and they go in the wastebasket, right? So that's the beauty of digitizing.
I know some
offset.
people that like the Tiffany calendar, but I'm sure they would like this type of personalized calendar even more.
Oh yeah.
So these are some exciting research areas and goals you have for the organization. How do you manage the portfolio of projects, right? That's one of your tasks as the
major
CTO.
task.
You have, I don't know, hundreds of projects. How do you manage that whole portfolio of projects? How do you decide what to invest in and not?
So for the projects in the research portfolio, the most important thing is that you have balance, right? Balance between shorter-term projects and longer-term projects. You have to have a full pipeline. Balance between projects that support us in our current markets we're in today, as well as projects that allow us to move into adjacent markets. So we keep increasing the market we're playing in. Projects that are really leveraging our current technologies, but in different areas, right? For example, we were very strong in personalized printing. Now we're looking at personalized packaging. And then projects that are completely disrupting the technologies themselves in your current business. For example, one of the research projects we're looking at is reusable paper, right? So it's also in our portfolio of green projects.
I think I saw an example of that.
You saw an example at Park.
You had printed some stuff on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
You could put it into your printer again, and it would erase everything that was on the paper and reprint.
That's correct.
The same paper.
The same paper. And the reason we were interested in that project is that there are several reasons. The first one is our anthropologists went and lived in enterprises and saw that up to, I believe it was 40% of what is printed in a typical enterprise on a typical day goes either in the waste basket or in the recycling bin. I mean, 40% of all these trillions of pages get thrown out, right? And so that's very bad for the environment, because even if you recycle, you need a lot of energy for recycling the paper. So and we studied the kind of documents. Is anything you bring to meetings? Most probably your pieces of paper here, you might not need it anymore in a couple days, or
it's my backup.
It's your
and
backup.
In this case, it was very important.
It was, of course, important, but you print it out, but you might not file it, right, because you have it electronically. And so what we thought, wouldn't it be great if, in fact, we print the information and it fades away over time, or it can be erased and people can print again. And so that's a reusable printer project. It's a research project. It's not ready for showtime. I mean, we're working in the labs. We had a lot of dreaming sessions with our customers. The research involved the customer very early on in the research projects. And so we took this reusable paper to our customer and said, how would you feel if you could print like this thing? How would you feel if tomorrow it was blank?
Exciting, right?
Exciting, yeah.
We use the paper. I just need it for this interview.
That's great. I'm happy you say exciting, because unfortunately the majority of our customers told us, and we have to kind of listen, I don't want to fade it by itself. I want to have control on when it fades, which is a whole different molecule, material scientist, chemistry, right? This is all about chemistry.
Sure.
So we are working on designing the molecules such that we write, and then within the printer, but that's the demo you saw, right? You put it in, it gets heated a little bit, it gets blank again, and then you immediately print. But we're putting there's some additional input from the customer that really said, I love to reuse my piece of paper. However, I want to decide when it fades instead of it fading by itself.
Okay.
So there is, but the reason I brought it up, it's disruptive to our current business, right? We are in a business where a lot of our profits and our income comes from people printing pages with inks and toners. And in this new concept, there would be no inks, no toners, the paper is used over again. So the purpose of research, though, is to figure out what are these research projects that both, again, extend current markets, new markets, current technologies, disrupting technologies, and get a good balance of all of the above so that we can...
That's very amazing and exciting. All those embarrassing memos that would fade away, and my photos that would last for 100 years.
That's right, that's right. So you can choose whether you want it to fade or not, right? Yeah, good.
So these projects, many of them are very complex, and I'm sure they require a lot of brains. So, and you have a lot of brains, global brains in your company. Who are those innovators, and where do the new generation of researchers come from?
So we have innovators. We have researchers who are Xerox employees. They work in Xerox. We have extremely close collaborations, as I mentioned before, with universities, with other partners. But more and more, I think the beauty of what I've seen over the last couple of years is a whole social networking aspect. I mean, the Web 2.0 technologies, which were in use by individuals in their homes, how they have really penetrated the corporate environment and making just Xerox research overall a significantly better place. And what I mean with that is we have a whole set of employees who on an ongoing basis have their blogs, both blogs within our firewalls, both blogging in the internet. But we're also using the social networking tools to, for example, really reach out to everybody, not only research, but across Xerox, to capture their ideas. And people can easily submit their ideas through web interface. And then we have a peer review of what are the great ideas we should invest in next year, or what are the great new green projects, or the great new projects around the information explosion. And so the capability that the web has allowed to now democratize the input of knowledge, so that me as a leader of research or the other leaders within the organization, we can really reach out and pick the brains of every researcher and capture her or his input to come up with even a better portfolio of projects. So I think, again, the beauty of the Web 2.0, and we have to embrace these tools if you want to hire Generation Y. People who are coming out of college as we speak, is to allow people to have their ideas and they allow them easily to give their input and then have that valued and drive the research agenda for the future. That's very important.
You have some amazing researchers. How do you attract the best and brightest scientists and researchers? Do you have special programs to attract the best?
Yeah. So we ultimately research, and doing great research is all about people with creative ideas, with passion. So it is extremely important to attract the right researchers, the best and brightest researchers around the world. So how we attract them is, number one, you have to create a culture within the organization where everybody feels valued, right? I mean, we're people from different races, different gender, different, whether it's cultural or religious or gay, lesbian. I mean, we really try to create a culture where everybody feels good working. I mean, the diversity is extremely important. So in addition to that, we reach out to, we have multiple relationships with universities around the globe. I mean, Europe, Canada, US, India, China, Russia. And we reach out, have technical collaborations. I mean, if you want to hire PhD level researchers, it's two things. It's number one about the content of what you work on. So you need to be credible, you need to be present at top-notch technical conferences in the world. I'm a fellow of the IEEE, the Institute of Electrical Electronics Engineers. I was always very active in my own technical network. It's very, very important. That's how you gain credibility with the top-notch researchers. And then that together with the fact that when the researcher comes and looks at our company, that they feel, yes, I can work there, that culture can work for me. This is a place that I would just love to work, very international, very diverse. And so the social networks now help that very much, right? We have many of our, mostly Gen Y, but also our Gen X's now, that have their blogging out there.
When you focus on innovation and stimulating innovation,
yes.
you talked a little about it. One method or approach you used was dreaming with the customers.
Yes.
And the other approach seems to be the social networking that stimulates innovation.
Yeah.
So what do you do to stimulate innovation?
Yeah, so dreaming with the customers, social networking within the company, and open innovation within and outside, extending outside the company, and that's, we use the terminology open innovation, which is used in the industry. Dreaming with the customer, thank you for bringing that up again, is extremely important. And I call it dreaming, and not only listening. You have to listen very carefully, but dreaming is more than listening. Dreaming is, number one, understanding the customer's pain points, right? As a journalist, what is it when you deal with information, when you deal with all of your, you actually don't have that many documents in front of you, but most probably documents on your laptop.
Exactly.
And all the stuff. What is it that really frustrates you? What is it that you would love to solve? Which problems is it that you're encountering? So I'm not just asking you, if you think about Xerox, what would you want? Because everybody's immediately going to think about maybe their printers or whatever it is and get it faster, cheaper, better quality, which of course is very important and which of course we are working on. But dreaming is understanding the pain points and then being able to have a dialogue that the researcher says, but I have this reusable paper, or I have this smart document technology. So look, this is how your pain point could be ultimately fixed and closed, and together we could have a better future. And so that is very important. And on the personal objectives of the researchers is an objective that they should have at least one dreaming session a year with a customer.
Okay.
And that's not so difficult, right? On this conference, you talk to anybody. I mean, many people touch paper, touch
Dream
documents.
about solutions.
And then dream together about solutions. And the customer is not necessarily somebody who today uses a Xerox product. Everybody in the world is my potential customer, right? And so it is truly understanding what is it that would make a big difference to our customers, to the world, and of course, again, the very important thing is that the people, our researchers, our engineers, our marketing people, our salespeople, I mean, we collaborate with all of them, of course, so we can bring a successful service or a successful product to the market, that people feel passionate and happy and are having fun in what they do every day, because as you know, right, we work so hard.
Yes.
If you don't have fun, you're just not going to have the passion and energy to do a good job.
How do you measure innovation or progress?
It depends on the project.
I'm just thinking, if people have a lot of fun, is that one metric, or how do you measure innovation?
There are many metrics, right?
What are some of the key metrics?
Yes, the key metrics depends on the kind of project you're working on. I haven't touched on it, but the way we manage, we have 3 different type of research programs. We have what I call explore projects, which is really exploring the unknown. I mean, it's leading edge research going into new areas where we really very fuzzy, the market doesn't exist yet. And I don't think we have time to go into many details, but I was thinking examples. But that's explore. It's mostly small projects. Then if some of them are very promising, we scale them up to significantly larger programs, maybe 15, 20, 25 people. We call them incubation programs. Then if the incubation programs, once we have fleshed out most of the inventions that are required, we figure out a good business case. Does this make business sense for Xerox? Then we work with the business group partners to transfer the technology into and commercialize the technology, basically, to commercialize the technology and get it to the customer. And those we call transfer programs, because the business groups take the lead at that point. So these are the 3 types of programs. In the transfer projects, let me start with exploration. In explore projects, some of the measurements are the number of patents that are created, the number of papers we publish. I mean, it's kind of the typical scientific research metrics that you look at. The number of dreaming sessions we really had with the customers and how they influence the project. For an incubation project, I mean, there the success measure, to me, is very simple. It is whether or not the business groups will pick it up and decide to commercialize it, right? If they don't decide to commercialize it, we spend a lot of money or invest a lot of money, and then, yes, there is great learning, and it morphs into other things. But the key measure is, if you have an incubation program today, next year, is it in the basic plans, the commercialization plans of the business groups? And so in the transfer projects, the way I measure the success of our organization is, are we effectively delivering and supporting the time-to-market schedule that this service or this product has, because it's then all about delivery time and low cost and making sure we effectively deliver it ultimately into the market. So it all depends on what the stage is of the research project.
Sophie, it's been very exciting speaking with you, and thank you very much for joining me today.
Great, thank you, Christian. It was a great pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You have been watching Executive Talks with Christian Grant at executivetalks.com.